Hello and welcome to My Own Worst Enemy. I am going to take a look at, well, for one thing, we're going to take a look at Command and Colors Tricorne, but that's kind of secondary to the intent of this video. What I really want to do is I want to take a look at Stuka Joe's card-driven solo method. So Stuka Joe, I'll post a link down below to Stuka Joe's website, or his YouTube channel, I should say, and some of his CDG, his card-driven solo method information. Basically, what Stuka Joe has done is to create a method by which you can play a game, a card-driven game like Command and Colors Tricorne, solitaire, and instead of having to see all of the cards that are available to each side, the CDG solo method will introduce some uncertainty when you're playing a solitaire game. Now, the intent, of course, of this solo method is not to create an artificial intelligence for your opponent. It's simply just an aid to you as the solo wargamer to introduce some more uncertainty and challenges into a session of a solitaire game. I think it's really a great idea. He's worked on this. He's tweaked it from its original incarnation. I have not actually tried this with the solitaire game. That's I was gonna just kind of do a run through on my own, but I thought, you know what, let's grab the camera and let's go through it together. I think you probably learn more that way. And people, if you've watched this and you've tried this method and I make a mistake, please let me know. Same with the Command and Color rules. I'm sure I'll make a mistake. I love Command and Colors Tricorne, but sometimes I'll forget to do something like add a die in or subtract a die, but that's secondary to the intent of this. Like I said, this is going to be more about Stuka Joe's solo method and taking a look at it. I'll also mention that GMT is I think right now it's in the P500, but GMT is going to release Stuka Joe's card-driven solo method soon, I hope. I've actually pre-ordered it, and that kind of is what led me to doing this video. I'm really looking forward to getting that from GMT. I think that's going to be really neat. And I was so excited to finally try this method. I was going to wait until I received the official product in the mail before I tried it, but I thought, you know what, I can't wait anymore. So what I did, I printed out, this is not to scale, I printed out the included mats for the cards that you'll be using. This is just a 8.5 by 11, so it's a little smaller, and as you can see, the cards won't quite fit, but that's okay. I wanted it that way so that I could get everything on camera so that you can see everything that I'm doing. And so this is just I printed this out on 2 sheets of paper, cut it, and double-sided taped it to a cardboard board so it wouldn't move around so much. And for the die, I don't like using stickers. I don't know why. I think that makes the die imbalanced. I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So what I did was I've got a ton of these blank white D6s, and you can buy those anywhere. I probably got these from Amazon. But what I did was I just wrote with a Sharpie, I wrote the various sides in Sharpie so that you can see what will come up as I roll this thing. And it's not great, but it certainly will work. There's my Jolly Roger. I can tell what it is, and that's what's important. So I'll be using that homemade die, and like I said, I can't wait to get the actual components. That's going to be neat. But let's go ahead and try this now and just see exactly what this feels like. I'll give you my thoughts, hopefully at the end, on what I think about the system and how it feels playing it. Now, I've played Command and Colors. Usually I play this a ton. And this is the Beam is Heights scenario, and you've probably seen this 1,000 times. I know people love to do videos on Command and Colors, and when they do Tricorne, usually you see them playing Beam is Heights. So you're probably sick of Beam is Heights, but that's actually the reason why I picked this one, because we've seen it so much, and I've played it so much, that with something I'm very familiar with scenario-wise, I can kind of focus more on what's going on with this card-driven system over here, the solo method. So that's kind of why you're probably groaning when you see Beam is Heights, but I think it's a good thing here. Who knows, maybe if we really like this, maybe I'll do a different scenario, or maybe even pick a scenario from Board Game Geek that someone's uploaded and try that. So what I've also done, in addition to printing out the playmat, is I printed out, this is actually from Stuka Joe's, I won't call it a rule book, but it's I guess it is kind of the rule book. It's how you play, or how you use the solo method. And this is a tweak specifically for command and colors. And the really neat thing about this is it's everything you need from the method is here. It's kind of repeated, but tweaked just a little bit for command and colors. So this is a standalone document. So there's two sides to this. You know, it tells you how to handle the combat cards that you'll draw and section cards, or what it means by lowest order count. And I'll explain that when we get into it. So not much to the method itself, which is excellent, because I think what you want is something that's really quick, light, that you can focus more on the game than you know, adding more rules to the game. So he's done an outstanding job of keeping this thing light. So with all that said, let's jump right in. We will start this. And so this scenario does have the opening cannonade rules. So that has nothing to do with Stuka Joe's system. We'll get to that in a second. That is a command and colors thing. So it is the British are the only ones that have light artillery. So they are going to, and I'm going to also get over here and pick up I printed out a play aid. So it's a rule summary. And I found this on Board Game Geek. And this was from a user called Liberty Toad. So Liberty Toad, if you're watching, thank you. This is just a kind of a really neat reminder of, it's single-sided because that's the way I printed it, but it's got your rally checks, your leader retreats, all the information, your quick information to rules in one place, which also reminds me of one other thing before we jump in, and that is Stuka Joe has also come up with something called player summary, or sequence of player cards or something like that. And I haven't really checked into that yet, but I'm interested to see what he's done there. So basically he's taking cards like this and reduced the sequence of play to card draws or something. I don't know. Like I said, it sounds interesting, and the intent there, as I understand that, is to keep you from going to this book and digging for, you know, your rules to figure out what's going on. You stop the game and you're looking for rules. So that's what leads people to create things like this, which are fantastic because it reduces some of that time. And apparently Stuka Joe has created a card system to do something that's even faster than this. So that's going to be, I'm really looking forward to trying that too. We may take a look at that at some point in the future. So for now, what I'm grabbing is the good old unit reference card and terrain charts that come with Command and Colors Tricorne. And what this has is, what I'm looking at is the range and the number of dice that the light artillery would get for firing on a unit. And of course I grabbed two because memory, like I said, played this so many times, I think it is two. So light filled artillery at range 3 is 1 die. So 1, 2, and I think they're going to fire at this regular Continental unit over here. So it's 1 base die for the range, 1, 2, 3. Let me show you this too. We'll kind of do a command and colors tutorial too. All right, what the heck? So, you know, you look at the unit reference chart and your range, the one in brackets would be your range 1 basically. So if you're going to melee into in that hex next to you, or the hex next to you, then it'll be 2. And then range 2 is 2, and then 3, 4, and 5. So light artillery can fire up to 5 away. Again, we're at 3, so we check it, and we get 1 die for that. And then you look at your modifications, the number of die you can add or subtract to that. And so you get 1 for that range we just saw. This is a full strength unit because it has 4 blocks, so that would be a second die. So he's now at 2. If there were a leader attached, you might get to add another die, but in this case you wouldn't because it is artillery and they do not benefit from that leader attached. I think that's correct. And so any modifiers from the command cards, of course, this is the opening cannonade, so there's none of that. No subtraction of terrain modifiers, and no one's moved. So it's right, my memory serves. It's 2 dice. So what we will do is fire those. This, like I said, this light is firing at that regular Continental unit. So that is a hit, actually. But, oh no, that's a saber. I thought we had a flag. So it is a hit. And so the way that works is if you roll the symbol of the unit, in this case we did, it's infantry, it's a hit. So they actually managed to score a hit. And that's kind of interesting because I don't think I see that too often in this scenario. So there's 1, damage inflicted on that, and I really shouldn't say that's damage inflicted. This is kind of like horse and musket, I think, where the blocks represent more the ability of the unit to fight than health, if you will. It's, you can, you know, if this were just one block versus 4, it would still use the same, fire at the same combat values as the 4 block unit would. So not really health. It's, I should say it's morale or something. And then there's one more light artillery, and we're just going to have that one fire at, let's say, this regular Continental. It's going to be the same amount of dice because of this. It's the same. The forest will not help the infantry unit in any way, shape, or form. Although it does get a, well, there's another hit and a flag. So the hit is going to be, that's actually really good for the British opening cannonade. That's about as good as they could do, I guess. Well, I guess they could do better if they had 2 infantry hits. So they have to take the hit. They did. The flag they can ignore because there are 2 adjacent supporting units. That will allow them to ignore that flag. I was going to check to see if the forest would also do that, and I don't think it does. I think it would for a light unit, but not a regular unit. So I don't have to check it because these supporting units would stop that. And so now we're going to get into Stuka Joe's method, the solo method. Let's see. And so now we're going to get into the actual CDG solo method. So, you know, I'm going to refer to this tweak sheet for command and colors, and it tells us to, first thing we do, and these are with the command cards, we will draw the first spaces. A and B will be face up for both sides. And well, like I said, I printed this out not to scale. I had to make it a little bit smaller in order to get it to fit on the game table here, but I think it's going to work for what we're trying to do. And then, so C, D, and E go face down, so we will not know what those cards are. And that's the uncertainty, part of the uncertainty. And then for the Continentals, same thing. They're going to get A and B face up. 2 counter attacks. That's interesting because these cards are shuffled, or they were shuffled. So these go face down. All right, and well, I have a little token here to kind of remind me whose turn it is, but you don't need to see that. And I probably don't if I can keep things straight in my head. So there we go. That's the hand. And it also reminds us for command and colors, the size of your command cards, your hand size for your command cards will matter because some of the cards will refer to that size to have you take actions for certain amounts of units. So in this scenario, each side receives a hand of 5 command cards. So we don't have to worry about marking with, you know, the hand size. So if the British had 7 and the Continentals had 3, then you'd want to put something down to remind you this number should always be 7. This number would always be 3. Here it's 5 and 5, so that's not going to be hard to forget. I'm not going to put down a token or anything to remind me of that. So that should be easy enough. And that's it. We do not draw we do draw the combat cards. So this is, got to be careful here because rules are intermeshing. So we still, and I'll double check this right now, but we still want to draw our normal card draw for, so we still want to draw the combat card. So in this particular scenario, it is, I'm pretty sure 4 for the Continentals and 3 for the British. We'll double check that too. It is just that. 4 for the Continentals and 3 for the British. And so these will go face up because I'm going to put these, let's see, we're running out of room. Let's put these on this side. These will go face up because you really won't get to, well, I'm not going to say you won't get to play these. You will get to play them, but it's not like a normal game. I'll put these over here for the British. Need a bigger game table and a bigger camera and everything. So that Patreon may have to start sometime sooner rather than later. So we're going to put you draw the combat cards as you would per the game rules or scenario rules. So we did that. And the way that's going to work is if I roll my Jolly Roger is disappearing. So maybe these Sharpies on this isn't working so good. But if I roll this Jolly Roger, that will allow me to play a combat card in addition to or with my command card. The other way is you kind of have to watch what's going on, because with command and colors you can, like for example, this hold the line says play after the opponent rolls his battle dice, and so the solo method tells you that in addition to and this is under card specific tweaks, that one thing to do is if you have a card that lets you play an action during the opponent's turn, be aware of that. And so you can actually play those outside of the system and more aligned with the game rules. So you could say, I'm going to play, they've gone, I'm going to play, hey, wait, I'm going to play this card and eliminate flags. So that's something else to remember. So the two ways you use these, through the Jolly Roger and through reacting to what's going on the battlefield. So those are out. I hope this is right. So I think it is. So that's the setup, and per scenario rules, the Continentals will get to go first. And so what we do is we roll the method die, and I'll do that now. And we get an ABC result. So an ABC result tells us A, B, and C, if not already face up, flip any face down cards in spaces A, B, and C. So C is still face down. Let's see. The Continentals are going first. You flip that card, and that's a powerful card. You flip that card, play card A, B, or C for any allowable purpose. So the method is telling us that we can choose A, B, or C. And in this case, it's anything goes. We can pick, and of course, two of these are the same, so it's going to make it a little bit easier here. But you pick any of those three and play it. So very simple there. And looking at this, I said we can play one of two. We can play counterattack or line volley. So counterattack isn't going to do much good here, because this card's telling you, you can play whatever your opponent played, his command card from the last turn. And that's not going to do a heck of a lot of good. So really, the only card I can use is this line volley card, so that you can see already that the method is kind of limiting, I guess is a better word, of what we can do with what we're given. And that's also the brilliance of this method. It's a trade-off. So there's a lot of uncertainty here. So the line volley is, we do not move the activated units. And in this case, we can activate, per the card, a line of units that are adjacent, contiguous. So this whole line can actually fire a line volley. So we're going to do that, and they get an additional die for this. So what I'm going to do is we will start, let's see, I don't think this regular is quite, well, maybe he is within range. I think he gets one from range 1, 2, 3. This could be, this card I've every time it's played, it seems to be brutal for whoever's on the receiving end. So let's see. So that is a regular unit, and yes, he can actually go up to 4 away. So he can 1, 2, 3. So he can hit that Grenadier. So what I'm going to do is use this marker to kind of step along what's going on, and we'll use this to show who he's attacking actually. So this regular unit is going to fire on the Grenadier, and so he is at range 3, which we said was one die. He's full strength, so that's going to give him another one. I don't believe he's going to look at the player aid card. He has no attached leader. He gets another die for the card, because this is line volley, so he gets 3. This is, like I said, this is a brutal card. It is not, you don't want to be on the receiving end of this card. Didn't move and no terrain modifier. So he's going to get 3 of these, and he's going to fire on that Grenadier unit. Oops, so that's 2 flags. So if you look at the Grenadier unit, let's see, the Grenadier unit could actually, where's bolster morale? Here it is. I thought that the Grenadier unit could ignore Grenadier unit or light infantry in forest. That's what I'm thinking. So I believe that the Grenadier is going to have to take probably, let's see, maybe one of these flags. So he has no attached leader. There are not two friendly adjacent units. Leaderless units, this is the one I was thinking. Adjacent can cause them to ignore one flag. So we do have a leader here, so that takes away one of these flags, leaving one flag. So he cannot ignore that flag. He's going to have to retreat. Retreat movement for a grenadier is 1. We're going to have him retreat back to this hex where this leader is located, because that's going to help him rally. So he goes back and must do a rally check now. And of course, if he fails this, he's eliminated. So this is huge. But the way rally checks work, you get 1 die per strength or morale block. So he's going to get 4 because he's still full strength or full morale. He has 4 blocks. So that's those 4. And plus 1 because he is at full strength. There is an attached leader, so that's up to 6 now. And it's a grenadier, so that's another die, so that is 7. And that's all he gets. So out of 7 dice, he has to get 1 flag. And let's see. Well, he got lots of flags, so he rallies and he lives on to fight another day. But it did manage to cause him to retreat. So we move on to the next regular unit who's going to fire at, I think he's going to fire at this light artillery unit. So that's 3 away again. So we get 1 for the range, 1 because he's full strength, and then 1 from the line volley card. And he fires. And it looks like 2 cavalry and an artillery unit. So that will hit. No flags. So that is a block from the artillery unit, and we'll move down to this regular. 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 away. That's going to be, again, the same 3 dice for base, range, and the line volley card. And that is a miss on all accounts. So we come to this militia unit, who I think cannot fire. Let's look real quick. I think the line of sight rules here might prevent him from firing. A forest hex blocks line of sight. So I'm going to say that, and I forgot about that. So that's really not as painful for the British as it could have been, because these hexes are going to block line of sight for firing on the front line here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This regular unit, I think, can hit. Like I said, we checked this, and they are within range 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I will double check it so I don't do something I shouldn't do. No. The artillery was range 5. They're only range 3, so they don't get to fire. This unit, however, is within range, so we'll just have them fire. Do we want to fire at the artillery or the regular unit? Let's have them fire at the. Let's have these guys take shots at the artillery. So they are at range 3. That's 1 die plus. They're not at full strength, so they don't get the second die, but they do get 1 from the card, so they only get 2. Firing at the artillery, and they get it. They should have fired at the infantry, but they do get a flag, but the artillery can ignore the flag because there are adjacent units. So moving right along, we're going to have this guy fire at the same. He will get the extra die for being full strength, so he does get to fire 3. And does score a hit. Okay. Now I can't say this is the solo method causing this, but usually there's lots of misses when I play this game. I don't get so many hits early like this, so this is kind of interesting. Nothing to do with the solo method. So this guy went, this light unit can fire up to 3 away, so this light unit can fire at this light unit. And so that light unit gets At range 3, that light unit gets 1 plus he's full strength is another. So he gets 3. It's the same. That is 1 hit. Wow. So the British are taking hits here. And then this rifle unit, 1, 2, 3. So again, full strength and the card. So he's also going to take a shot at that light unit. 3 dice. And that's another hit. So that will pull yet another block off. So as you can see, the line volley card is powerful. Can be very powerful. And so back to the solo method now tells you to take this card. It goes into the discard pile, which is over here. Draw another card face down into where you just pulled. All right, so the opening shots were fired from the Continental side. We now go back to the British side. And so back to the solo method. So I'm pausing a lot, I'm slow, and it's because I'm working in this new solo method, and I want to make sure I do this right. So we go now to the British. They will roll the solo method die, which gets stuck in the dice tower. So these are a little bit larger. These blank ones are a little bit larger than my other dice, so that's what's going on. I do have a larger tower coming. ABC, so same thing, right? So we flip C over, and per the solo method rules, we can choose any of those cards for play. So it's kind of like a regular game of Command and Colors Tricorne here, only now we only have 3 cards to consider. So forward, recon, enforce, or advance center. Now, normally when I play this game, when I play the British, I'm not very aggressive with them. I like to hold them back and let the Continentals come forward. So I won't be very aggressive here in this scenario either. Like I said, I want to kind of keep things as I normally would play them and see how the solo method alters that experience. So, okay, I don't want to move anyone too far forward. With that said, recon and force in each section. I'll also point something else out, and this is where I can see I've got to be careful because we just had that round of the line volley from the Continentals, and I should have been checking over here with the combat cards that the British player has to see if he could have prevented any of the damage or anything that was going on over there. But looking at it, I had to hold the line card, so I could have prevented some of the damage that came in. So I've got to be careful and consider those cards, and I do that when I'm normally playing. This isn't it's not a fault of the solo method. It's my fault. I kind of do when you're playing solitaire. Sometimes you forget, that hey, I've got these cards too. It's easy to do in a turn. I don't do it all the time, but it is kind of easy to mess yourself up. So going back to what the British can do with their command cards, recon and force, I can move 1 unit in each section and then advance the center. I can move 3 units in the center. I think I'm going to play the recon and force card and move 1 in each section. So I'm going to move let's move the Grenadier forward again. So the Grenadier is going to come back up to the position he was in to here. And so I'm going to mark this unit as moved with the blue token or this blue chip on top to show that so if I fire, I got to remember that I subtract a die because he moved. And if a unit I activated but I hadn't moved it, I would put that blue marker on the board to show that he had not moved, but he could still fire. So that's 1 in the left section. The center section, I'm going to bring this leader forward to here. Now he can't fire, but I'm still going to mark him as moved. And then the right flank over here, the right section. I'm going to, well, we got a problem with this light unit. I'm going to bring this unit, well, let's see, I can't go through yet. I'm going to bring it back here. I think that's what I want to do. Let me bring this militia forward. So that's movement, and then we go to the combat phase. The grenadiers are going to fire on that regular unit. They're going to fire, oops. They're going to fire on this unit. So the grenadiers are at range 2. That is 2. Let's see, let's get this method die out. That's 2 for range. They are at full strength, so they'll get an additional die for that. And no leaders are attached. No bonuses from the card, so they will fire. And they get a hit and a flag, so they have to take the hit, and they can ignore the flag because there are 2 adjacent units here. I am seeing a lot of hits in these opening volleys here that I normally don't see. It's interesting. Again, that's nothing. Well, you know, I say it's nothing for linked to the solo method. Maybe it is a little bit in some of the card choices being played that I normally wouldn't play, but that's interesting to see that. So that unit has fired. The leader can't fire, and this is a light unit. I don't think they can. 1, 2, 3. Maybe they can. They're 3 away from that rifle unit. And so they can actually, let's put that back up there because they did move. They are 3 away from this rifle unit. That'll get them 1 for range. They're not full strength. They don't get another one. No leaders. They get nothing else. And they'll take their shot. And they get an artillery. So that's nothing. That is a miss. So that's going to be it for the British turn. And this was a card that tells you to, at the end of the turn, draw 1 combat card. So we'll discard that. We'll go ahead and draw our combat card. Infantry ranged bonus. And I'm going to run out of space here. If I start drawing too many of these combat cards, let's put it there so we can see that. And so we draw back up, face down, in position B, because that's the card we played. And the method tells us to do that. And then we go back to the Continental's side, Continental turn. So we take the method die, we roll it, C, D, and E. So now well, let's make sure. I'm getting ahead of myself here. I don't know the rules, so I should read these. If not already face up, flip any face down cards in C, D, and E, and then play any of those for allowable purpose. Okay, so this is like the ABC, but now we're seeing C, D, E. And this will give us access to the entire hand of cards. So, and we can choose anyone we want. So the counterattack card would let us play that Recon and Force card that the British just played. Rally. You might want to consider a rally here because we took some hits. I think we might do that. Let's see. So it says roll 1 die for each command card you have in your hand, including this one. So remember, we have 5 cards per the solo method. And that's why you'd want to track with a token your hand count in Command and Colors Tricorne, Command and Colors in general, I think. But just a reminder, if we had 7 cards, we'd have to remember that that's actually 7 dice that we could roll. But here it would be 5. So if we can roll 5 dice, and for each symbol unit rolled, return 1 eliminated block of that type back to, well, not to full strength, but we get to add a block. A flag is also 1 block of your choice. So let's do this. Let's play that one. We're going to try to do some rallying already here. And we have 5, so am I doing this right? 1 die for each command card. Yeah, so we're looking for, here I'm looking really for infantry and flags. So let's see what we get. We get only 2 flags. So I can rally one block of my choice. For each saber rolled, your opponent, for each saber roll, your opponent rolls one die to rally his units as above, ignoring sabers. Okay, so let's put that aside. So we were going to give them a chance to rally, it looks like. And I get 2 flags, so I can return a block of my choice. So I'm going to rally, that's going to be 2. And in this case, it's just, I'm going to rally this regular unit over here, and we're going to rally this regular unit here. So that's our rally. And now, because I rolled a saber, the British can roll, and they can ignore sabers, but they get the same opportunity to rally here. And they do not have any cavalry, so they cannot rally. And so we discard our rally card and draw another command card face down. And now we go back to the British side for their turn. All right, so that's back to the method die. We will roll that and see what we get. That is a E less than, so that is a new result for us. Face up tactics card or lowest order count face up section card. And remember that the tactics cards would be these are section cards. So the sections will actually have, it'll show the board in sections. It's kind of obvious. The tactics cards would just be text mostly. So if there are none or only one face up cards in the display, flip any one face down card face up. Okay, well, we have, for the British, we have 2. So we don't do that. Play any face up tactics card or place the lowest order count face up section card for any allowable purpose. So we have 2 section cards, so we don't have any tactics cards. So we have to pick the section card with the lowest order count. And if there are multiple lowest order count section cards, choose one to play. So basically, if they're equal, we'll choose one to play. And so now what this means by this lowest order count, it's not the number on the card per se. It's the number of units that could be ordered by a card. So if we look at forward, it says forward in each section. So looking at each section, issue 1 order to 2 units or leaders. So it's 2, 4, 6. And it may be that if you were playing a game, and here we actually have 6 units that we could move. So our count here will be 6. But it could be in a game that you only have, say instead of 6, maybe you're spread out such that you can only move 3 units with this card. And that would be the number that the method would want you to use. They would say not 6 on the card, but you can only move 3 using the card. So 3 is your order count there. That's what the method is telling you. So here it's 6 for us because we can actually move 2 in each section. And then advanced center says issue 1 order to 3 units. So it's 6 versus 3 here. So we're going to have to play the advanced center card. Easy choice for us. All right, so issue 1 order to 3 units and or leaders in the center section. So I'm going to get my little markers here. I'm going to use this light unit to fire with. And I'm going to have, I don't think I have a lot of choice here, really. I'm going to use, I could move, I'm not, like I said, I don't really want to move my regulars forward. So I'm going to take a shot. Well, I can't. It's the center section. So I'm going to have this. Let's just do a volley. They're going to stand in place and fire, basically. So that's how we're going to advance our center. And like I said, I'm going to put these on the board to show that they are activated, but I am not moving them. So now we go to the combat phase. And the light artillery will fire at this regular. And again, we'll check the range on that. It's 3. 3 is a 1, so they get 1. They're not at full strength, and they have no other modifications here. So it's strictly 1 die, and they get a cavalry. So that doesn't do them any good. That's a miss. So they have gone. Now, this regular unit is going to fire on that regular unit. They get 1 for range and 1 because they are full strength, and they fire. And that is a flag, which the other unit can ignore because there are adjacent units. And finally, this regular unit also will get to fire 2 dice and a miss. There's the misses I'm used to. So that will do it for the British turn. So that gets discarded, and we refill the C section face down. And we go back to the Continentals. So that's the method die again. A, B. And I think that's just what it says, but I'm going to make sure. A, B, flip any face down cards in spaces A and B. Play any of those for playable purpose. So has to be counterattack here. It's the only thing they can do. So they're going to play, and it doesn't matter which one. Let's just start over here with A. They're going to play counterattack, which means they get to play this advanced center card that the British used last turn. Follow the instructions on that card as though you were actually playing it. And of course, they're telling you to reverse the sections, but you should know to do that anyway, because remember, you're looking from that side of the battlefield this way now. So for the British, this is their right section. For the Continentals, this is their left section. So it doesn't matter here. Well, it doesn't matter here because it's advanced center. So, well, it doesn't matter here because it's advanced center. The center is the center for both sides. Issue 1 order to 3 units. So they are going to, I think what they're going to do is bring up the line. So I'm going to activate, well, let's just move them and then we'll show them as move. So this regular unit is going to move forward. So that's 1. This regular unit, oops, I can get the blocks. See, it's not just the tweezers. My hand is just as bad as the tweezers. And one of the advantages of playing these block games is you don't need tweezers, really. You can just use your hands. They're easy to pick up. And let's bring this regular unit forward. So he was in the center. He's still in the center. He's also in his right flank now. So that's it. So that's 3. We moved them, and I believe now they can take a shot. So they are within range. We will have this unit will fire at this unit. So that is a range of 3. So he gets 1 for range. He gets 1 for being full strength. And he fires. It's a flag, which this unit can ignore because there are 2 adjacent units. And now this unit will fire at this unit. 1 for range, 1 for full strength. 2 flags. Well, one of those he can ignore. And, well, the other one he can ignore because there is a leader that is alone and adjacent. And I will double check it, but I know he can ignore it. Leaderless units adjacent to lone. Yeah, so lone unit is what I was trying to say there, so they can ignore this flag. And that was this shot. And finally, this unit hit, well, it doesn't really matter. We'll just have him fire at, well, it does matter because I may want to take a shot at this unit. Line of sight, I don't think line of sight is blocked here because we're shooting from the center of this hex to the center of this hex. So he's going to fire at this unit. And 1 for range, 1 for being full strength. 1 flag, which he can ignore. So they didn't hit anything, but they did get to move up. So that was good. And we discard that card and draw back up with another command card in that spot. And then we go back to the British side, and we'll roll the Stuka. It's again with that E less than, which is if there are none or only one face up cards in the display, flip any one face down card face up. So we get to choose which one would we like to flip face up. Let's just pick the one on the other end. And they're both section cards. So it is telling us again to play the lower order count. Which one has the lowest order count? And again, we count the number of units in each section that we were able to move. For the British, that is still 6, 2, 4, 6. And for probe left, so this is the British left over here, it's issue 1 order to 2 units. So that's going to be our lowest order card. So that's the one we have to play. Okay, so issue 1 order to 2 units. So I'm going to have the light artillery is going to fire at that regular, I'm pretty sure, and the grenadiers are going to do the same thing. So I'm going to mark those as activated units, and let's start with the light artillery. So they're at range 3. I think we said it was a 1. It is. So they get 1 for range. They do not get anything for being full strength. So it's just 1 die here. Let's get the Stuka method out of here. The method die, and let's roll. And a miss because it's cavalry, so we take that off. And same thing, the grenadiers are firing at, I should have marked it, but they're firing at the same regulars. And that's range 2. I believe that's 2. It is, so they get 2 for range. They get an additional 1 for being full strength. And 2 artilleries and saber, so they miss. All right, and that is the British side. So we will go back now to, well, let's see, we played that was the probe left card. So we discard that and we draw back up. So we do that, and we'll go back now to the American side. Well, the Continentals anyway. So they're going to roll. And they roll C, D, and E. So we flip over C, and it's telling us that we can play any of the cards in positions C, D, or E for any purpose. And before I get too far ahead, the British card did say to draw a combat card, and I didn't do that, so let's do that real quick. They're getting lots of combat cards over here. Okay, so C, D, or E. What do the Continentals want to do? At the quick step, so for each command card you have here, so it'd be 5, we can move 1 hex more than its normal movement. So here we could move, in this case, mostly it would be 2 hexes. Bayonet attack, 3 infantry units may move 2 and still battle in melee. Man, so that's not going to do us any good. Assault left for each command card, it's 5 again. Order, so it's basically the left section. And so remember, the left section for the Continentals is on this side. So we could move 5 units in the left section. And what we could do with this card is bring some of this militia forward. But it would only be 1 hex, which isn't a heck of a lot. And honestly, those militia are brittle as glass in this game. So I kind of think I want to do the at the quick step. Well, then we'll get to engaging ranged combat with that card either, though. That's right. But they can move to, well, I don't like that card either. So we are going to do assault left, I think. Let's just do that. I'm going to bring, let's see, this light unit. What is his range? Looks like his range is 3. So if we step him forward out of the woods, which is dumb. 1, so if he's here, he can definitely hit. I could bring these guys forward and take a shot. What to do? I think that I am going to okay, it's up to 5, I said, right? So yeah, I'm going to move. This light unit is going to come over this way. Mark him as moved, so that's 1. Do I want to step this guy out of the woods? 1, 2. He can still hit this light unit. I think he's going to stay right there. And this leader, I think I do want to activate him. I don't think I'm going to move this guy, but I think I might fire with him. So this leader can go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to bring this leader 1, 2, 3. So he can do that. He can move here so that I have moved the leader. 2 more. I think I'm just going to bring 2 militia units forward. So that'd be 1, 2. One and 2, so that's 5, right? And I have, it says for each command card in my hand, it's 5. That is the movement of those activated units. And now we proceed to combat. So the method die out of the box. So this rifled unit is firing from 3 away. Rifled unit, I think that's 1, it is. So the rifled unit will fire at this light unit. So he didn't move, so he gets 1 for being at range 3. He gets another 1 for being full strength. That is it. So he fires with 2 dice, and it's a miss. And he is done. This light unit, 1, 2, 3, will be firing at this regular unit. Oh, see, that was a rifle unit, right? It's still 1. So the light unit, yeah, we're still at 1. So the light unit gets, well, I'm already attacking it with the die. Maybe that's foreshadowing. Okay, so so he's firing at that regular. He gets 1 for being full strength, 1 for the range. He's got a leader with him now, so the attached leader, I believe, gives him another one. It does, so that's at 3. So he's firing 3 at those regulars. And here's the misses that I'm used to. So miss on all accounts there. So that's all of the combat we can do. And that is that. And we discard. And we draw another combat card face down in that empty position. Interesting. So we go back to the British side. And again, I need to remind myself that I am holding cards with that. So the British, I need to check them. Could have played Hold the Line had they gotten hit. Just remember, I need to check that. So let's go back to the solo method. We will roll that die. It is now the Continental's turn. D and E, which I think is another case of just pull D and E. Flip any face down cards in D and E. So we have to flip E now. And so we can flip either one of these, or not flip, we can play either one of these that we choose with no restrictions. So bayonet attack. We could do this one now that we moved our lineup into position. Issue up to 3 infantry units. Units may move 2 hexes and battle in melee with no movement reduction. So we could, let's see, 1, 2, 1, yeah, we could definitely charge across the field and attack. Or we could recon and force in each section, 1 order, but we get a combat card if we do that. That's kind of nice. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a bayonet attack. Fix bayonets, and we're going to activate. That's what about movement. So we're just going to have we're just going to have these guys run across the field. So they're going to go there. So that's 2, that's 2, and that is 2. Got a Pickett's charge vibe going on here. So they move 2. They still get to attack with no movement reduction. So it's basically going to be a full strength melee attack here. So looking at, we'll start here. Let's do this. We'll start here. This unit will attack this unit. And so let's do the check for the regulars. Make sure we get the number of dice correct. It's 2. Yeah, it is 2. So he gets 2 for distance, or in this case, it's not really so much distance as it's just a melee attack. And then he gets an extra one for being full strength. I think that's all he gets. There's no leaders. I don't think there wasn't a modification to that, right? No modification to the die. Okay, so, and that's where it's saying to subtract a die, but no, the card lets us keep it. So it's 3 dice and 2 hits on that infantry. Wow. So I'm going to remove 2 blocks. Well, let's hold on here a second. This is what I was talking about, where I gotta be careful. So we do have hold the line. And one of the things that the method allows you to do is if you have a card that you can play during the opponent's turn, as in a regular game of Command and Colors Tricorne, you can play it. And I'm going to double check it again because I'm new to the method. I'm getting a feel for it pretty quick, and I've got to say the rules are very, very streamlined. That's a positive. So for these combat cards, it's saying, generally speaking, you can use these cards when you roll the Jolly Roger symbol, with one exception, and that's the cards can be played by the inactive side as long as it's in reaction to the active side's card play. So read the card text carefully to be certain of the card intent before playing it. Well, that's certainly the intent there. So we're going to play that one. They can play that. And what that will do is play this card after the opponent rolls his battle dice. A unit with a leader or unit adjacent to a leader, which qualifies here because this unit is adjacent to this leader, may ignore all flags rolled against it. No, it's not going to do any good. But he can ignore all flags rolled in this battle. So I've got to remember that card is there. And I don't think I have any other. Well, see, here's ambush. Play this card after opponent declares melee combat, but before his dice is rolled. Well, I can't do that anyway, but that's where I got to be careful. Defending unit will combat fire first. Okay, so yeah, I need to look at these cards. All right, that's my fault, though. That's not the method's fault. So he does have to take 2 hits. So 2 more blocks are gone. And we move now. Well, let's see. This was melee combat, so he gets to battle back here, should he choose to do so. And I don't know if he's going to choose to do so. Let's see. Applies to infantry unit with leader. All right, we're looking at battle back. But let's see. Let me go back to the rulebook here. Because I don't know if I don't know. Let's see. Defending unit battles back. So that's what we have. A defending unit battling back. Defending enemy unit may battle back against attacking unit in melee if one or more of defending unit's blocks survive. Well, they did. They have 2 survive. So it's basically another chance to attack. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't battle back here. And basically what we're going to do is we are going to, it's just a regular attack. This is what I'm double checking here on this chart. And they're regular, so they're going to get their two of these for, they get 2 for, it's a melee attack and no additional. So they're going to battle back. And they get a flag. And that's a flag that these regulars cannot ignore, I believe. No attached leader. There's only 1 adjacent friendly. There are no other leaders around. So yeah, they're going to have to take that one. They're going to have to take that flag. All right, so they will retreat 1 because there was 1 flag and they only retreat 1 space per flag. And now they must make a morale check, a rally check, I should say. So they get, let's see, they get the dice out of there. They get 4 dice for being full, they are full strength. They get 1 per block is what I'm trying to say. So it is 1 per block, 1 more for full strength. There's no leaders, nothing else. So it's 5 dice. And they do get a flag. So they stop where they are at. All right. And so they retreated. They held their ground. This unit will now melee this regular unit. Melee attack base is 2 plus 1 for being full strength. And they will attack. Wow, so that's 2 flags. They get to ignore them both because there's a leader here and there's 2 adjacent units. So they do get to ignore the flags, and there were no hits. And now they're going to battle back. So they get 2 plus 1 for being full strength. They battle back. 2 flags again. Wow, this may not have been, like I said, I was getting a Pickett's charge vibe. Maybe this is why. So they cannot ignore either one of those, I don't think. They're going to have to take both of those. So they're going to have to retreat 2 spaces. So 1, 2. I'm going to bring them back here. And they're going to have to do a rally check. So they will get 4 dice for 4 blocks, 1 more for being full strength, and they will hope they get a flag. And they do. So there's a flag. So they rally. They stop. And now this unit is going to attack the light artillery. And again, they get 2 dice for the base range, 1 more for being full strength, and they attack. Looking for artillery, and they get 1, so they do manage to inflict damage to the artillery. There's a flag, but they can ignore it because there are adjacent units there. And that will end the Continental turn. They will discard, and they will draw up face down in the D space. Of course, now they're by themselves in the face of the British line, so they're in an interesting spot to say the least. Okay, and here we'd go back to the British side, but I think I'm going to stop it here because I'm well over an hour, and I've played enough to get a pretty good feel for the solo method, and so I will just quickly give you some of my thoughts on the Stuka Joe card-driven solo method. What do I think overall initially? And like I said, this is the first time I've used it. It's I'm not going to pass complete judgment on it yet. If you'd like to see me continue on with this battle, maybe start a new one, I may consider that, but you're going to have to get those comments in quick because I may free this table up sooner rather than later. I may move on to something else. I don't know. But so, yeah, this solo method, it's, like I said, it's not meant to replace an opponent. What it's meant to do is make the game more interesting for you as the solo player. And I think, I've got to say, I think it does achieve that. It's really interesting in that one thing it does is create this uncertainty with what's going on the battlefield. And I think that's really neat. It's, you know, if you're playing this game, and I normally play this game when I can see all the cards for both sides. So it kind of, you know, it's, and I'm really good at being objective when it comes to playing both sides. I'm pretty fair with how I play both sides. But there are certain cases where you'll get a card that, you know, you can only do so much, and I usually resolve those with a roll of some kind of dice roll to determine what to do. And sometimes even the reaction will be a dice roll to that. But so what this method does, though, is it really creates confusion on the battlefield because you're limited by what you can do. And one thing maybe that replicates is a battlefield commander's hands being tied. You know, you see something happening. You want to play this counterattack card, but you can't. You're stuck to positions D and E, and you must play one of those cards instead. So I really like that. It adds an element to this game that it changes the game so much when you're playing solitaire that to me, it felt like a different game. And I even, I was kind of joking that I took all this damage initially, and I've never encountered that before. And I was joking it wasn't the problem with the solo method, But it might have been related to the solo method in that maybe I never saw that happen before, because the way the cards came out, it kind of forced me to play cards I normally wouldn't in these situations, and the game unfolded differently, possibly. And so that's, I think, the real strength of this system is the uncertainty, just not knowing. You as a solo player, it's kind of rare to play a game that's not meant for solo play, to play a game that's not meant for solo play, and to encounter the unknown. And this does an outstanding job of creating that feel and the frustration that comes with not being able to do what you want to do. So my hat is off to Stuka Joe, and I'm going to try this again, and not just with Command and Colors, but I want to try this with some other games. And I will say that normally I'm a player that likes to play both sides with all the information out. I think it's because I have such a background. I love history and I love role-playing games. And so I think it's a mesh of those two things that when I play a game like this, without the solo method, when I play a game like this, I want to see all the information, I want to see everything, and I want to play out scenarios and how I think. I'll role play kind of like, okay, I'm the British player now, and maybe my intent is to rush everybody over here and come to the left side of the field and push forward. And I'll kind of stick with whatever I come up in my mind with to play it that way. And so I kind of prefer that. But I can see me using this solo method a lot, because like I said, this just feels like a completely different. It's Command and Colors, but it feels like such a different game of Command and Colors with this solo method. It's interesting, a lot of fun. Some complaints I may have with this system, and I've only played it once, like I said, and these may not be valid complaints. This is just based on what you just saw. The only complaints that I think I have so far, it really takes the combat cards out of the game. For the most part, not entirely. Like I said, you saw me play a combat card, and you can still play the cards in reaction to what your opponent is doing. However, the entire time that I played, the only way for me to play to actually play a combat card is if I roll that Jolly Roger. So I've got a 1 in 6 chance of playing a combat card. So it kind of took the combat cards away from me, which seems kind of a negative to me. You may see that as a positive, and if I put more thought into it, maybe I'll see it as a positive. Because what it does do is it makes those combat cards a rare thing indeed. And so, if you roll that Jolly Roger, you're like, wow, I get to play a combat card now. Maybe that's the intent, but I felt like I had less of an opportunity to use the combat cards than I would in a regular game of Command and Colors, and that's part of why it changed the Command and Colors game so much. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. That's why I'm going to have to keep playing it. The other thing is that it really, and this, I'm going to say it's a complaint, but it's not a complaint. It really is it may be a positive too. You're really limited in what you can do as the current side. I mean, it feels like railroading. That's a term from role-playing game, where I kind of forced down a road that I didn't want to take. But at the same time, like I said, that may be one of the positives of this system, in that you are forced to think outside the box. You're forced to use what you have in your hand to play a turn. And I think, like I said, my problem is that I have am into the role playing it out in the story mode more than I have the uncertainty, I guess. But so that you're kind of, railroading is maybe too strong a term, but you are kind of limited into what you can do on the battlefield. And again, like I said, maybe that's an advantage, and maybe it's a strong advantage that you're forced to think outside the box and really work with what you've been given. And I'm sure there's military leaders out there that can probably chime in and say, yeah, that's just how you should feel in situations like this. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end it here. I'm going to leave links down below to the GMT's webpage on where you can pre-order this. And it's I think they're selling it now on the P500 for around 15 bucks. I think it's going to be 20 bucks when it comes out. So it's not that much money for something that I think is just outstanding in the way it works. It is fast. It adds, you're adding, the main thing that you're changing is you've got this extra die roll that you roll. So it's adding, what I'm trying to say is it's rules light in that it's not adding a whole lot more to the existing rule system. It's not bogging you down with a bunch of extra stuff you don't need. It meshes very well. It's very integral to the existing rule set, and it's quick. So, you're rolling the die and you're moving. So that it's brilliant for that. And it feels so much different to me. I have to say, I can put the links down below to GMT. So far, I'm going to give this highly recommended that you try this. And you can try it now. You don't have to wait for GMT. You can go to Board Game Geek. I think maybe Stuka Joe has it on his site. I don't know, but these rules are out there. And it's, you download his rule book, which has the base system, which you can modify to your own liking. It also has some additional tweak sheets for other games that are card driven in there. I think I saw Empire of the Sun in there, which Empire of the Sun is one of those games I'm really looking forward to playing a complete game of that at some point, but that may be a while off, but I'm going to do it. So I was really excited to see that was in there. Anyway, you can try this now. Go to Board Game Geek, you can download the files that will get you these boards. You get stickers for the dice, or you can write on a blank one like I did, and the rules. Highly recommend it. Please give it a try. And I can't wait to get the actual physical official copy in my hands. That's going to be neat. And I will, as I said, I do want to check out Stuka Joe's Sequence of Play card system next. Now, I'm really excited to see that now after seeing how this plays and the amount of thought that went into this. So Stuka Joe, if you're listening, you probably aren't, but if you're listening, awesome job, sir. My hat is off to you. I really like this. And I love to see somebody take such an interest in wargaming and solitaire play that you would be inspired to do something like this. So kudos, sir. I mean, maybe we could set an interview up with Stuka Joe on an episode of Solo Babble. That'd be neat. But there you go. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I will see you here next time.